Buongiorno and Chris Gleason, and we've got a photograph of Chris. Oh, that's not Chris. That's something else. Sorry.
Chris is better looking. That's
There's
me
Chris.
on my screen. There you go.
Didn't look like you, Chris.
Oh my gosh.
So we've got him here. Jeff, I'm gonna let you start, man. What's happening? There's a lot going on, and I can't wrap my head all around it, but you can. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's how these demons operate. They overwhelm you with evil, and we are the good fighting the evil. Chris and I are at it, pretty much 24/7. I wake him up in the middle of the night sometimes, and we just don't stop.
This is true.
I do that too sometimes.
So that first here's what's going on. We had a special election in the district, the House District 90, which I reside in, and the conservative one, her name is Maria Zacks, and I really hope she beats the demon, the Democrat that's running. The rhino that ran against her already endorsed the Democrat. So this is what you have, this cross-pollination of
Uniparty
in Palm Beach County. And this is what I call predictive programming, where they're going to steal the election so Maria Zacks loses, but they're going to say, well, Bill Reichert, he endorsed the Democrats, so that's why you got so many of these blank ballots. I mean, vote by mail ballots that that threw the election. So here's the scheme that is happening on Friday, October 10th, at 4301 Cherry Road in West Palm Beach. This is what I call the Fortress of Fraud. This is the new supervisor of elections building, complete with enough bay doors to rival an Amazon distribution center. They got to get those vote by mail ballots in and out, right? They got like 15 bay doors. They got 30, I don't know how many thousands, at least 100,000 square feet, but they all sit behind bulletproof glass. Now, here's the scheme. If you could show my screen that I'm sharing, that you had up first. Okay, so this is totally contravenes Attorney General opinions on recording at public meetings. It contravenes Sun Law, Florida Statute 284.011, and it also contravenes an Attorney General's opinion from good old Pinellas County, where the school board, they wanted to ban recording of their meetings. They want to hold them in the dark. So on Friday, the canvassing board will certify the primary win of Maria Zacks at the Fortress of Fraud, 4301 Cherry Road, at about 4:30 p.m. But here's the scheme. Now, they post this sign before you walk into the area where the canvassing board convenes. So they're characterizing that, well, you can't record back here because everything's so confidential, and we got to conceal our fraud. But they're violating those three authorities that I just mentioned. But here's what makes it worse. This is the Republican Executive Committee of Palm Beach, the chairman, okay, who's an attorney now. Mind you, this man holds a bar card, and he is basically in touch with Wendy Link via text messaging, and they're already framing their mischaracterization of the law by, first of all, it's the design of the room. They plastered big screen monitors all over the room, so if you go to record anybody, chances are you're going to get that big screen. And on the big screen, they post ballots, vote by ballots with signatures. So if you record, you committed a crime, you can't take that signature. So this is by design. This is a scheme. This has been going on since the Fortress of Fraud was first opened up back, I think, around June of 2024. And this is Carl Cassio trying to basically deter anyone from going to this canvassing board meeting, which I'm encouraging the public to come in masses. Okay, we need to go in there, cameras out, not be disruptive, peacefully enter the canvassing board meeting and record the meeting. Now, Carl Cassio is an attorney. Any attorney in his position of power should be able to identify those three authorities. So this is the very short of it. This is what's going on this week, and I'm calling on everyone to attend. We have to set the tone because they want to certify in darkness. They don't even want to be seen. They scurry in through the back door with like deputies, protecting them with body armor. Okay, these people are evil demons, and they must be exposed. Their faces must be exposed, and that we need to add sunshine to the entire certification process that happens at the canvassing board meeting.
Wow. That's so you want everybody to come. So give that address again, Jeff.
Yeah, it's 4301 Cherry Road in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we're gonna start rallying at around 2:30 p.m. right across the street. And so that's the location. It's right. It's basically right behind the Palm Beach International Airport, which opens a whole nother can of worms because supposedly whoever owns that property of the airport leased this property to the county, and there's like no line items for this fortress of fraud that cost about $35 million on the county budget. So we don't know where the money even came from to build this debauchery of it's a fortress of fraud. It's exactly what it is. It's designed to conceal fraud, and it's an Amazon distribution center. When we close it down, we can lease it to Amazon. Literally, there's so many paid doors to orchestrate the ballot fraud that goes on.
Chris, what do you add to that, my friend?
Well, there's definitely a conspiracy over there in Palm Beach County. We've been seeing Uthmeyer and Blaise Angolia running around the state, and Jay Collins, by the way. They're all running around the state of Florida saying how great a job they're doing policing the misuse and abuse of taxpayer dollars. Yet, they're allowing Wendy Link to use taxpayer dollars to fund her election fraud cover-up lawsuit with Bongi and her own election contest with Bongi. Both, by the way, are illegal. Can't do that. There's numerous attorney general opinions on the use of taxpayer money to fund private election challenges. And there's actually a law that talks specifically about what you can use taxpayer money for with regards to official duties. And unfortunately for Wendy Link, and as what we've seen here in Pinellas County, a lot of their actions and activities are, one, not in the public interest because they perpetuate actual factual election fraud and the disenfranchisement of voters. So it's they've done some really bad stuff, and we have to hold them accountable. And we're not gonna let them off the hook. So what you have there is an attorney general opinion, I believe, talking about that you can't use taxpayer funds. And in Wendy Link's case, she's using a law firm, Gunster Law, and Gregor Schwinghammer, and they're probably at around a couple of $100,000 right now in misappropriated taxpayer funds. But our law and order attorney general is more concerned about helping cover up the election crimes by his co-conspirators. So, let's not forget, Wendy Link was appointed by Ron DeSantis, just like Julie Marcus was.
As a Republican.
Yes, as a Republican, too, yes.
And she flipped.
Yeah.
So let me just ask, I'll start with Jeff. What's the latest? You got some lawsuits going on, too, right? What's the updates on those?
Yeah, we're going to appeal right now. We're putting the documents together. We're also, we disqualified the Judge Cheeseman. We had an evidentiary hearing on July 1st. We actually did a hit on this, the Batman and Robin hit, And that's when the Palm Beach County Sheriff practically grabbed Chris out of the witness stand because she was about to expose the system log file that shows that there's more votes than there are ballots, and they're doing everything in their power to cover this up and to deny the public of these records. So we're on appeal. We're also filing motions with the lower tribunal to vacate that illegal judgment that was issued after we motioned to have the judge disqualified. And Judge Chaseman, she's Jamaican born, first of all, just, that's on the side note, which a lot of these judges are, which, that's coming to light now. So that's where we are. We still have grounds to file motions in the lower court based on the fraud, based on this conspiracy that's going on. We have we have a line in the water with the appeals court, and Chris just had a great ruling with the Florida Supreme Court. So we're going all the way up the ladder. Eventually, we're building our case to bring to federal court, which is not based on machines and melting them down and doing crazy stuff like Mike Lindell. It's based on our rights being violated. Not that there's anything wrong with Mike Lindell, but we're not going anywhere with the machines. We've seen this over and over. And this is something people can understand and judges will rule on. Our rights are being violated through a conspiracy to keep me out of office and to basically throw elections. And it's very simple federal law that's in play. It's Title 42 U.S. Code 1985. But Chris had a great ruling just the other day. Maybe he wants to expand on that.
Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead, Chris.
So, in the light of Bongi's case, his judge actually disqualified herself, which was rather shocking. In my case, we had numerous circuit court judges who should never have presided over the case due to conflicts. And then we had the Second District Court of Appeals. They refused to self-disqualify, even though they are actually and factually connected to the fraud in the case. So I filed my initial brief with the Second DCA after they refused to disqualify themselves, even after I asked them to disqualify themselves and presented all of the evidence, which they know that they should have disqualified themselves. But so what I did was I filed for a writ of prohibition with the Florida Supreme Court. And we went back and forth a few times in some filings. And we had a good win the other day. I had filed initially with the Supreme Court a bare bones petition with no evidence, and the bad guys wanted to make sure that it was a bare bones petition with no evidence.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
But we did some legal maneuvering, and we compelled them to allow the amendment and supplement of the record. And so now we have a very vigorous legal argument that I don't think that they're going to have any wiggle room to get around.
So just this is the case that was about your election?
Yeah.
So the one that I went to where she sealed everything. So you've gotten that evidence readmitted, is what you're saying?
Yeah, a good portion of it. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
So, Yeah, it is. So, an interesting side note, right, is that there have been since that first case, her first disqualification. We've had two pivotal U.S. Supreme Court cases that have come up. One was against Simon and Schuster and I believe Penguin Publishing, and the United States Supreme Court declined to hear the case because so many of the judges were conflicted. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't want to have an appearance of a potential bias, just an appearance of a potential bias. So I think it was like 4 or 5 Supreme Court justices said, nope, we're disqualifying. So the lower courts are going to have to deal with this. We can't handle this. And I heard last night, or this morning rather, that the United States Supreme Court refused to hear Laura Loomer's case, and I guess Alito disqualified or recused himself from that hearing.
What's that? What was that case about?
Laura Loomer was trying to get the United States Supreme Court to pick up her censorship case by big tech. And so they declined once again to hear another pivotal big tech censorship immunity case. And but Alito, he self-disqualified from even making that decision, which is very interesting in light of the fact that we have an entire circuit court here in Florida where all of the judges were materially connected because their elections were subject to this same pattern of fraud in the same election.
And some of them actually requested ballots. Am I right?
Somebody requested the ballots in their names.
Yeah.
And so, and what was funny is that these judges, they were protected voters. Mm-hmm. And a protected voter can't request their ballot online. And so that would mean that, a good portion of the judges in Pinellas County and in Hillsborough County had their ballots illegally requested. How do you preside over a case that you're a material witness and only the judges or their spouses who had the ballots ordered in their names can testify to how they did it?
Yeah. Not to mention the 200 and something thousand that were requested on one day when the office was closed. I still love that one. Has anybody addressed that at all?
Well, there is a conspiracy by the state attorney and the Florida Secretary of State and Division of Elections to conceal this information. And what they're doing is they're claiming quietly behind the scenes to other people that it's a bug. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, it's not a bug. This is a feature. Yeah. But this is, they're not going to get away with this. They can't steal our elections via wire fraud and mail fraud and not be held accountable.
So, Jeff, what do you think about President Trump's vote by mail executive order and, push to remove that? Is that realistic?
Well, that brings up a great point. I am running for United States Congress, and I will be a federal candidate. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned, we're going to scale this up to the federal court system for a rights violation. And as we progress, I will file injunctions forcing Wendy Link and Florida to enforce the executive orders that Trump defines. Now, these executive orders look great on paper, but getting these demons to actually follow them is a whole nother story. So This is part of the plan that for the 2026 midterms, where I will be a federal candidate and quite possibly someone else very close to me will be federal candidates, and we will file injunctions. And if we're successful, the demons will still run the local elections the way they do with blank ballots galore and all this technology that is controlled by foreign operatives, and you'll see 12, 14-point swings because we know what they're doing. We know the percentage of what they're doing. United Sovereign Americans just released a report yesterday that 12.1% of all Palm Beach County voter registrations were not verifiable or had duplicate social security numbers. So what do I think? Yeah, Trump's, he's trying. He's got his hands full. We're fighting the ground. We're fighting the ground fight here in Florida, and we're not letting up. And there might be another announcement about federal candidates, in the very near future, possibly today.
So we have that story which you mentioned about the 12.1% on the Miami Independent. Let me just throw that up for people. So if you go to miamiindependent.com, you can see the story that Jeff is talking about, where over 10% of the ballots in Palm Beach County were found to be fraudulent or at least suspect, correct?
Yeah, 12.1%.
So Chris, what about all the Venezuela whistleblower, Tina Peters? I mean, the Serbia thing has been going on for a long time. Venezuela, what is that going to have any impact on the 26 election? We're getting close to 26 here, man.
It better. Otherwise, we're going to have some real big problems. But we'll see. We know already, right, that the corrupt judicial insurrection nationwide, they're going to fight, right? They're going to fight Trump on all his executive orders, okay? Because they're not real judges, okay? They're just not. They are political activists, hacktivists, and judicial insurrectionists in robes, and they're waging a judicial coup against the United States and its citizens, and we're not going to let them do that. So we're going to fight them. We're going to fight them with lawfare. We're going to fight them in the court of public opinion, and candidates like Jeff and myself, we're gonna do what we can to secure our elections and ensure that that even though the judges may try to do something, we can make things untenable for them by shining light on all of this, right? Because our elections aren't trade secrets, and they can't be held in secret. And we know they're fraud. We've caught them. We've done such a good job of catching them at the fraud here in Florida. They have to change the law to hide the fraud.
Yeah, that happened 2 years ago. So this has been going on for a while.
And they do it. They do it through an organization called the Florida Supervisors of Elections. And the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, I think he's now somewhere in the RNC, Evan Power. He is behind the lobbying to change the laws that so they can cover the fraud. And this is so you have a nexus between Carl Cascio, okay, who's shilling for Wendy Link. He's mischaracterizing law, saying, "Well, because Ucava ballots are going to be there, you guys can't record." You have Evan Power. He's going in front of Don Gates. Okay, he's the head of the Senate, and getting special airtime to basically undo and conceal the fraud.
Chris, let me ask you. We've had some death threats here due to our reporting. Candace is coming out today saying that there's evidence that may come out that Charlie said the day before he died that they're going to kill me. Have you guys been threatened at all?
People have asked if I'm concerned or we're concerned, and I've got some pretty good. I've got the best security that there is, and
I understand.
I'm not an easy target. Neither is Jeff.
Yeah,
and I'm not afraid.
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I've had at least a dozen. It is when I ran for supervisor of elections, there was an article in the New York Times where we exposed me familia vota, and then right after that, I had a flurry of death threats. And then speaking of Tina Peters, I came out with some folks, and we did a forensics review of the actual images that she grabbed. and we saw the time stopping, and I came public with that. And after that, I got a few death threats, but just brush right through.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to stop though, and we're not going to stop. And if they try to unalive us, it's not going to go the way that they think.
Yeah, for the record, I'm not suicidal.
So Jeff, tell people you've got some stuff on the screen. Tell people where to find you for our audio audience. There's a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, sure. So my campaign website is my name, jeffbuongiorno.com. And
how do you spell that?
Very carefully. I'm going to make it real easy. Vote Bongi. VoteBongi.com is going to redirect to here. So if you go to VoteBongi.com, you will get my campaign website. I'm also part of a nonprofit, which I'm resigning from. Any executive duties. You go to tinyurl.com. Help Bongi. That goes to funding research. Okay, it's not political. It's by any means. It's just to fund research on elections, on laws, and we make that public to both Democrats and Republicans. So you got two sources. You got tinyurl.com, help Bongi, and then you have my campaign website, which is votebongi.com.
Chris, what about you?
Well, they can find me on the Miami Independent and immutablетruthelections.substack.com.
And the Miami Independent has been really impactful, and it's getting much more impactful and much more read as we go. So if you're in Central Florida or Lower Florida, or really the South in general, the Miami Independent is becoming the paper of record for grassroots in the South. Anything else, Chris? What's next?
More lawfare, and
Friday.
There may be some more federal candidate announcements here shortly. So,
and Bongi, give that address again for Friday, please.
Friday, yes, it's 4301 Cherry Road, and that's in West Palm Beach. That's about 3:30 p.m. Anybody who could make it, that would be great.
Thank you much, guys. We'll see you again soon, I'm sure. Take care.
Take care.